a Friday night stream. Hope you guys didn't miss me too much last week. I had a nice little trip down to Nelson Bay. No, Nelson Bay. Yeah, Nelson Bay. I always forget the name of that one. It's a nice little place about 3 hours away from here. Nice little beach town in New South Wales. So yeah, a lot of fun. Hi Christian. Yeah. The editor plugin would be very well suited for that. I'm still struggling a bit with what I'm doing here because I don't have enough functionality in the gizmos. We're going to work a little bit more on it tonight, but I've been looking at a lot of code behind the scenes in the editor and finding some of the limitations, so I gotta figure out what to do with those. That said, I think we might change the way that we select the bone that we are modifying by creating additional elements in the UI itself. And that's definitely for something like a MIDI. You know, it's like you've got your audio pane here, this whole pane here. You could add a MIDI pane there where you set up all your MIDI stuff, and you know, go to town with the interface that you want to do. Especially for this sort of stuff, you can do whatever you want. It's very powerful what you can do as far as creating panels and adding logic to the panels. With the 3D view and the 2D view for that matter, so with these editors, you are limited at this point in time of what the gizmos allow us to do. Now, I don't know if there is a way around that. So there might be more possible with just writing a lot more logic. But I'm still learning how the editor plugin works. So, not much news to mention, even though it's been 2 weeks since my last stream. I've been hard at work at my day job, unfortunately, which has been the excuse for the last couple of weeks, but that's just the reality of the pandemic at the moment. Things are a little crazy at my work, and that is cutting into time for the things that I do privately. Logically, yeah, pays the bills. That's just the way that it is. Although in general, there is, of course, a lot of stuff that's happening. Jean posted a bunch of things around the particles that he's doing. The new particle system in Godot 4 that supports collisions is looking really, really impressive. The other thing which is really noteworthy on the VR front is, and I forgot your name, buddy, but we now have someone working on web VR support, and that is coming along quite nicely. There is a working version at this point in time. Now, it does require some hacks in the core of Godot to work due to the nature of how HTML WebAssembly works and the way that WebXR expects us to integrate with the browser. That doesn't completely rhyme with how Godot does things. So there's some struggling there, but it's working. It's just you need a custom build of Godot at this point in time. So we'll see. It's very impressive work. So looking forward to seeing where that leads. Yeah. And a important mention, something that Fredia posted the other day. We have a new version of the Quest plugin, and that is the last version of the plugin that will support the Oculus Go. Oculus obviously is dropping support for the Oculus Go in their SDK. So we will be going to the latest version of the SDK to support the Quest 2. And at that point in time, that means dropping support for Oculus Go. So there is a specific branch. I'll actually quickly open that up for anybody who wants to know. Godot. Oops. Oculus Mobile. So there's a branch in here, which is the Oculus Go branch. Not sure why there is a Bastion patch 1 there. I think that is old and needs to go. Whoops, clicked in the wrong place. But there's an Oculus Go branch here, and I'm not sure how much that will be maintained. but it means that you can always build this this plugin from scratch if you still want to deploy it to the Oculus Go. You can't sell those as far as I'm aware. That's the only downside. I think Oculus is also removing support to sell Oculus Go applications in the store, but don't hold that, if I got that wrong, don't hold that against me. But I do believe that that was one of the things that came out of that that whole discussion. I actually need to either do a stream or a new tutorial video on the plugin, because things have changed quite a lot since the last video that I did on the Oculus Go. It has actually become a lot more complex in the way that we deploy things now. It is now working through custom templates. And yeah, well, there's a bunch of instructions here that that are pretty clear, and you can go through them to get the plugin compiled. But even if you download the assets, and I'm not quite sure how that's working with the current version, but because the installation instructions are so specific to using Android templates, which is a different approach to the standard publishing of an Android app that is supported in Godot, there are a bunch of extra steps that you need to take, even if you get the pre-compiled binaries. So yeah, definitely something that I need to do a video about soon. Hi, Game Endeavor. Welcome for again. Thank you for joining us again. Always good to see you. So yeah, be aware of that. I really need to redo my tutorial videos on the Go and actually start doing some serious stuff with the Go. Because yeah, it's incredibly popular. There are a lot of people doing Oculus Quest work on Godot at the moment, which is really cool to see, including a couple of very successful ones that are making some waves on SideQuest. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. So that is it as far as the Oculus mobile plugin is concerned. So like I said, Go is being deprecated. There is a branch if you do want to keep developing for the Go, but the master will move away from that. So while I think the current master hasn't been changed yet, yeah, this branch is still even with master. Expect breakage pretty soon where the Oculus Go will not work on the master branch anymore. So that's an important announcement. I have also slowly been chipping away on the OpenXR plugin. Unfortunately, I have not had a whole bunch of time here, but it is working. I gave a demo of it 2 weeks ago, but I have since tweaked a few things. We're waiting on a PR to be merged in Godot itself. Once that is merged, all the work that I've done so far will be merged into this plugin, and hopefully we will be able to start really cleaning up things and making it work properly under Windows. There are a bunch of hacks in there still. The same with the Linux version, by the way. There are a few shortcuts that were made, but all the changes that were done upstream in the Godot core should hopefully allow us to do a lot of cleanup work. But there is a lot of stuff that needs to be improved, because we the current plugin right now is really focused on a singular use case. And we need to build on that and make it a proper plugin with all the features that the other plugins have. So, so I'm looking forward to really diving into that. Hopefully that will also mean that I am going to start making this work for Godot 4. That has been long on my to-do list and long postponed. But if all goes well, before the year is out, I should be working on that. So, can't say too much about that yet, because I don't really know yet what's going to happen. But hopefully I'll have some news there. We'll see. Okie doke. Let's get back to our little thing here. So where we left off last time is that we were using these little gizmo things, these little handles, in order to select which bone we want to change. I'm not quite sure how. I clicked on the wrong one because I just moved it. We don't have the undo in there yet. That's another thing that I want to have a look at. But obviously, I'm not too happy about that, because like you see right now, it's too easy to not just select but also move, because I actually have to drag it slightly in order for that selection to work. And then we have the the things to move like that, and I'm not quite happy with how it works. Now the other thing is we are printing some information down the bottom to show us what is happening. We see that the skeleton isn't actually updating. Let's go and reset this guy. Boom. If we go and add this guy in, then we can actually see that it does work right away. We just don't see the skeleton updating. So I need to figure out how to fix that. But I think the first thing that I'm going to fix is actually locking the rotations in and going for a different method there. The second thing that I want to do is, instead of dragging on these, these handles to try and select the bone, we're probably just going to add a drop down here where we can select the bone that we want to edit, and that also means that we'll be able to put a little keyframe thingy in there. Hopefully, I haven't done that ever, so we'll see how easy it is to build that in. But yeah, we should be able to add a menu here that allows us to select the bones that we have. So let me drink some water. I also want to figure out how to make the undo work, because obviously there's a whole undo system in Godot, and it's a little annoying that that just doesn't want to work. All right. I think we're going to start with changing the way that these handles work so that we can actually see how we're rotating stuff. So we had our Bone Gizmo plugin, which is the plugin that identifies that we want to do something on a spatial node. It creates the materials and the handles, but it doesn't actually create the gizmo itself. We started off with a simple version that combines everything in one class, but now the gizmo is actually a instance that we return, and that is linked to the specific skeleton that we're editing. So that if we have 3 skeletons on screen, each one has its own gizmo instance, which means that every gizmo instance we can keep track of information. So we'll have to see how we can tie that all together. All right, let's zoom this a bit in. So our gizmo itself is then in our Bone Gizmo file, which extends the spatial gizmo. So we have a few things here. That is all for knowing which handles we have. So that's probably going to change. Setting our initial position as our start, which is fine. And then obviously set handle is what gets called when we actually move our handle. Now this is the thing that we're probably going to change quite a lot. That actually reminds me that I want to check if I was smart enough to to safeguard everything. No, obviously I did not, really. Yeah. Oh, that has nothing to do with this, so that's all good. Those are all just extra things. Oh. No, I don't have any tutorials on enemy AI except for the stuff that I've done so far for my space game. So if you look at some of the earlier streams, we started with a very simple, basic state machine based AI to control the enemies in this game, but that's still very very basic information. I'm also working for the Mac Racer guys on the AI for their system, which right now is also very simplistic. So I'm still sort of trying to find out what the best ways are to implement this. And if all goes well, obviously we're going to be doing more with the AI in this game. So hopefully that will be very informative. But I do plan, when that is all done and dusted, to then take that information and put it into a proper tutorial, so that you don't have to watch hours and hours of video. But at this point in time, I don't have an AI tutorial. If I'm not mistaken, Game Endeavor, who is in the chat at the moment, has a bunch of tutorials on the subject. I think GD Quest has as well. And I'm pretty sure Kids Can Code has 1 or 2, but I don't know how far his tutorials go on enemy AI. So there are tutorials out there. but I'm still building. Hi, David. Hi, Michael. Speak of the devil, Michael is one of the guys working on MacRacer. Also, should I create animation for my FPS player in Blender or Godot? Absolutely in Blender. When it comes to animations that are based on skeletal things, you can see that I am now building a plugin to do simple posing of characters, but it's far from where it should be. I'm going to be happy if I get it to a point where it is usable, but this is definitely not at a level where you would say this is polished functionality. And I think that the only way to get there is to actually start building this in the core of Godot itself, because we simply don't have the amount of control that we need in order to get the proper UI things in the interface. So right now, Godot, as far as posing skeleton characters is concerned, it doesn't have enough features to really do that. So that is definitely the part that I would do in Blender or whatever 3D modeling software you use, and just create animation tracks there and then import them into Godot. When you look at animations for objects themselves, so just positioning of objects, the animation tree in Godot is really powerful. So I think there is a balance between how much you animate in Blender or create the base animations that you want to do, and then in Godot you do your blend trees for FPS characters, where you want to blend different animations together, so that you can have a walk animation combined with a shooting animation of your gun to different parts of the character, so that you don't have to have infinite combinations there. You just use the animation blend to do that stuff. And I can't remember who it was, but there is a guy on Facebook, on the Godot Facebook page, who regularly posts his updates of his FPS controller, and he actually has a whole tutorial of setting up your character with multiple animations and blend trees and stuff like that. So yeah, it is a bit of a, you do the base animations in Blender and then you do the rest in Godot. Yeah, player states. Oh yeah, that's more towards the player side, isn't it? So more reacting to the input. Because I do use states to limit the decision-making process of the enemy, and make sure that it doesn't check everything every frame. It's specifically busy with a action and just checks what it needs to do on that action, whether it's attacking, whether it's fleeing, whether it's that sort of thing. But you are right. There is a great shortage of good AI tutorials, and that is something, it's something I get a lot of questions about, and I have also got a lot of questions. I'm a rendering guy. AI is still something I'm learning as well, so I'm very surprised at how hard it is to find really good information. There are some good books about it. There's even a really good free book that was made available a couple of weeks ago, but that's still a lot of principle work without actually showing how to implement it. And I'm hoping more tutorials will come on those subjects. And I guess that because it is such a difficult and especially broad topic, it's hard to make those. And that's, I think, why we don't see many of those tutorials online. So yeah, definitely hoping to get further with that and do more with it. AI with pathing. Well, pathing itself is a difficult topic, depending on how complex you want to make it, I guess. I did the little RTS game a little while ago that I really wanted to actually build further. A little sad that actually it's one of those parked projects because I moved on to something else. But it's definitely something that I do want to pick up again. Yeah, it's about being smart and knowing that determining a path of an AI is relatively expensive to do. So you don't want to update the path that an AI is going to follow every frame to try and react to the changing environment. So the way I did it back then was that a character would figure out the path that it wanted to take, and it would then move along that path. And if something interrupted it, then it would make a new decision of whether it wanted to change where it was going to, or whether it wanted to change state and go from a moving state to an attacking state. And that meant that it wasn't making those decisions continuously. It made those decisions once. But even then, and I played around with A-Star, the biggest problem that you have with A-Star is that if you find a path, it is incredibly efficient. But if there isn't a path, it's going to check just about every combination possible before it figures out, oh, there really isn't a path. And that's where it can really start eating up performance. So there have to be conditions where you say, I'm not giving up. There is no path to the destination that I want to take. And I might want to try again after a second or something like that. Yeah, on a spherical terrain, yeah, you're making your life really difficult on that. Computers work really well, or games work really well if you have just two axes, up and right. The moment that you have a sphere, things get tricky. One of the things that I have seen work really well when you're on a sphere is either if you base your pathing on either a hexagon tile, because depending on what the angles are and depending on how you put them together, you can actually map a hexagon around a sphere in a way that it evenly fills all the available space. There's a mathematical function for that. Or triangles. And that way you can get pathing where it doesn't get distorted depending on whether you hit the poles or anything, because all the distances are equal, which is kind of cool. But yeah, look at a football. Football is made that way, right? If you look at a football, they're all hexagon, square. It's hexagon of that's pentagons, five sides. So they're all stitched together in a way that it nicely becomes a ball that has no poles. That sort of thing would work. Yeah, Game Endeavor, that's the problem. That's the same thing that I have. That's also one of the reasons why I've put my my vehicle tutorials on hold. You get to a point where the next step that you do takes way too much time to prepare, and it's very hard to justify the time investment. That's, I think, one of the reasons why I'm enjoying streaming so much, because I can just invest the time. I'm building this thing anyway, and I'm just taking you guys on the journey with it, and hopefully you guys pick up something. And if at the end of that I can then go and take these bits that I've built and then condense it into a tutorial, that would be much more efficient. The downside, of course, is that you end up with a tutorial is, this is how you build a space game, or this is how you do the AI in a space game, or this is how you do particles in a space game. And while it teaches people the basics of how that approach is so that they can translate that approach to whatever situation that they're in, it doesn't cover all bases. It's not a full tutorial at that point in time. So, and again, it's the same thing. I think I get a request every month from someone saying, "Can you please add AI to your racing game?" Well, I haven't touched that for a year. I actually want to come back to it at some point. I've even been thinking about maybe dedicating 2 or 3 streams to it, to just at least do the things that I had already prepared but never got around to finishing the tutorial series, especially because I had a hard disk crash at some point. So I lost some of that work as well, which is really annoying. But the gear stuff, and potentially indeed some simple AI mechanics for enemy racers, especially once I'm a little further with my space game. I might do the gear one somewhere in between, so switching gears and doing that stuff, because that is something that I actually had finished. I just never made the tutorial out of it. But doing that as a stream, just to say, well, let's take one stream and take the vehicle, the car game, and bring it up to Godot 3.2 standard, because it's still a 3.0 game at this point in time. Polish up a few of the bugs that are still in there, and then add the gear logic. That might be an idea to do a stream about at some point now. So yeah, let me know if you guys actually want me to dedicate a day on that. It would be good to know. Oh, that's a really good idea to make a path through for large environments. That's pretty cool, actually. Yeah, where you could do the pathing on a more higher level, lower detail map. Higher regions indeed, or bigger cells, and then for each cell figure out the individual bits of pathing within that cell, which is could do some really cool for an RTS game. That would really work, I think. One thing that I do like a lot about A-Star, and especially the implementation in Godot, even though it's really horrible to wrap your head around, is that you're not actually fixed to 4 dimensions of travel. Right, left, up, down. Basically, every cell in the grid is, you define what the connections are. So because the idea there is you could go up and right, but not left and down if there were walls there, and you can. Or you can have one-way portals in that. Or you could even connect a cell here and a cell over there with a single cost travel if there's a portal there. So it's really powerful to actually use. And if you have a sphere, again, if you divide the sphere in pentagons, you have basically 5 directions of travel in each cell. So you would be linking all those cells together. And you would just need to have some sort of numbering scheme to figure out which cells can be joined to other cells. But it's not easy to build. It's powerful enough to do it, but try and figure that one out. Okie doke. So what we're doing here right now is in our set handle. So that is called when a handle is dragged. We check the ID. If the ID is bigger than -1, we are identifying which bone it is and therefore selecting the bone. So that part I actually want to remove pretty soon because I want to change it to a drop-down. That's the next thing that we're going to be doing. The thing that is important is the else, because then we have our 3 handles with which we rotate. And the problem that I have here is that the current solution that I did was to actually figure out what the new direction of that vector is, and then reconstruct the rest of the matrix, which gives you full freedom of rotation. But it's nearly impossible to control. What I want to change this to is, depending on which handle you move, you rotate according to that axis. So basically making it work exactly like this thing works. So you're grabbing one ring and you're only rotating around that ring. The problem is I can't draw rings. It has to work with these handle things. So if we are using that handle, we're basically going to rotate around our Y. If we use that handle, we're going to rotate around our X. If we use that handle, we're going to rotate around our Z. And we're just going to use the amount of travel of our mouse to dictate how much rotation we're doing. And that should actually be a lot simpler than what I was doing here. So seeing I don't actually want to use any of this, I think we're going to get rid of all this. So, or of a lot of it. So we're getting the skeleton. We're figuring out what our bone transform is here. And that's our global one. And our position. And that's cool. I don't think actually I care about our position, but we will see. I'm just going to gut this out because I do want to keep these guys in there so that I remember what that all is. So let's put some rotate around Y. rotate around Z, and this is going to be rotate around X. All right, so we don't care about any of this. Okay. Now that's going to be a good one. That's our position. Do we get our starting position of our mouse? Because that's something I really need in this case. Else I am going to go and... Did I just move? Then I am going to need to do it like this. Well, I guess I'm going to have to. That sucks a little bit. Oh, why do I not have my handle pulse here? Oh, because that wasn't... Okay, so I need to undo a bit more. Sorry about that. We need to keep a little bit more than I planned. So we are going to go that over here. We're just going to change the way that we do things over here. Okay. Okay. So this is the bit that we're going to change. Rotate around Y. So the problem why I'm hesitating is I can make this logic really simple if I know how much I've moved my mouse, if I have my mouse delta. But that is not given to my logic here. I'm just giving the new mouse position because the logic here is assuming that I'm going to try and figure out where to move something to. And obviously I have my original handle position. Now I can calculate what my new position is and I could make that move. That's all that this is designed originally to do. Now for me, I don't care about that. And that's going to be interesting. No, because I've remembered the original position, so that should be fine. It shouldn't be getting a new position there. So rotate around. So this was, I think, was Z, and then this is going to be rotate around X. Okay. And I think this is all going to stay the same because we just need to do our delta. So we're just going to change the way that we're doing this. That's still complaining about handle pause, so I removed a little bit more than I wanted. There we go. Pretty sure that was out because I don't want to undo anymore. All right, so let's start with this guy. And we are already starting that with that is a bone transform itself. So in theory, I should be able to say transform.rotated. I think I need to actually do that like this. So in this case, what was the helper for this again? Here we go. Axis and the amount. Okay, so bone transform.basis.y. That's what we rotate around. But now the amount that we rotate. Now that is the other problem that we now have. Yeah. Dang it. Do I then need to store this again? Oh, because that is not even from our original position too. It sucks. Okay. Get on those. How do I get the stored value here? Was that what we were getting here? Index, special point. No. Because I really want to base it on this original pose. And then actually do that with the global pose. Let's have a look at one of our other gizmos. Where is a spatial gizmo that we looked at the last time? Or the path gizmo, I mean. Path editor plugin. Here we go. So that get handle. Set handle curve, inverse right of that. Can we share animation clips by code between two skeletons? Only if the skeletons are based on the same skeleton. Because else you Okay. Just to quickly digress before we get back into this. So when you look at your animation player, here's my idle animation. Oh, that does not show unless I do that. So the skeleton indeed is not redrawn when there's actually a reason to redraw it. That's really annoying. I need to figure that one out. Ah, that didn't do a lot. Come on, I want a nice animation. So boom, there we go. Nope. So here we have an animation. I really don't. Oh, it hides the whole thing. That's crappy. There we go. So there we go. So when you look at that animation, then that animation is stored in your animation player. And all that does, it animates on your skeleton. It animates the pose. So your rest position of your skeleton defines basically your T-pose or whatever base pose that you have. And then your animation is animating the actual pose, which are the rotations and movement changes based in relation to your T-pose. Now, if you have two skeletons that are exactly the same, but you have a different mesh being animated with that skeleton, then those animations are transferable between those meshes. If the meshes are not the same, let's say that you have a full-size character and you have a half-size character, it depends. If the animation is pure rotation and the T-pose is basically the same, and the number of bones and the linkages between the bones and the names between the bones, they are exactly the same. It's purely the scale that's changed. Then in theory, the animations are exchangeable as well. Now, the important bit here to answer your question is that this data is already separate from your skeleton. The animation data is an animation in your animation player. And you can copy that. It's just an object. It's actually not even in the animation player itself. It's a detail. It's a resource. And you can even save it. So if I go here to animation and I say save, and I actually want to rename that anim. Boom. Then now in my file system, and that will be in assets. And I actually just changed it that it actually saves that. So might have to undo that, but we'll see. Where are we with our GD quest? Here we go. So here I've got my animation file, and I could load that into other animation players. And again, as long as the skeletons are compatible, that animation will work on any compatible skeleton. And that's, for instance, when you look at like something like Mixamo. That's how you actually merge all the animations together, because you download the animations one by one. You just save them to animation files, put them all together into a single animation player, and there you go. You've got all your animations together. One step further even is if you look at the import of a GLTF file, and this is just a binary version of a GLTF file. There should be an option here in animation where you actually can tell it to create those anim files. So by default, when you import, the animation data is imported into your scene, into your subscene, but you can tell Godot that when it imports the GLTF file is to actually create those anim files, and then use those anim files inside of the system. And that's how I work with Mixamo, for instance. So I would set that as the default. I would download 5 animations for the same character of Mixamo, put them all in the folder, make sure that that is set, and then Godot will automatically extract all the animations for all the files, but I create a single scene into which I load all the animations and add a blend tree into there to blend all the animations. So yeah, basically you can do that. In code, the only difference, because remember, everything in your interface you can do in code. I actually have to now, before I do anything else, don't save. I need to reload this guy because else it'll keep that animation file on disk. But the reason why I'm reloading this is I want my animation to actually be. No, that's not updating the view, I think. There we go. Yeah, it's already good. I just wanted to make sure that the animation here. I don't think it gives us a thing there. I just wanted to make sure that's embedded again. I don't think it even allows me to say that anyway. But yeah, if you want to do that in code, it is just a matter. If we go to animation player, helps if I spell it right. Back to output. Where are we? So we got add animation to load a new one. And here we have a get animation that gets it. So you can, and even the list where you can get the list of strings. So you can do get animation on one skeleton and say, I want to get my kick animation. And then you can call add animation on another skeleton, or another animation player, I should say, and add that into there. So yeah, you can definitely do that with that. Can we do motion capture in Godot? Not that I am aware of. Pretty sure that someone smart enough can come up with a plugin for that, but I don't think anybody did. That would be pretty cool, by the way. But yeah, I think there are better programs to do motion capture with. Keep in mind, when you look at motion capture, you have a lot of cleanup to do after that. You have to be able to make the animations loopable if they're loopable, or make the transitions work. You can't just film yourself and expect to have clean animations as a result. Okay. Oh yeah. So the reason I was looking at code was that I want to figure out. So when we start moving our gizmo, Godot will call get handle value, and it will store that value somewhere. And that value we can access in here. And I am trying to figure out, how do we access that value? Where do we get that from? Because right now we're working with a current value, and I don't want to do that. I want to work with my starting value. So here we do get a restore, because that's the reason why it's calling that. It's calling this so that if we cancel, then it can do a restore here, and it gets the restore value there. That's our value that we're sending through to begin with. And I think we've actually got that here. Yeah, set bone pose. Now, actually that's fine that it's, because I can always add that into the parent. So that's good. That's good. All right. And actually, we can make it much simpler as a result of that as well, I think. I'll have to think about it. All right. But I need to get that. Well, obviously there is a hack for this if we can't access it, and that is that we simply okay, can I just put in the comment here handle bone we are making. There we go. Not sure where I'm using offset for. There we go. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to take this and assign it to our start pose and then return it. So we actually retain a copy of the pose as it was when we started. Okay. All right, cool. So, all right. Now, here we still need our actual global pose, but based on our start pose now. So, that means I need to get the parent of our selected bone. Can I? Okay. Parent transform. Okay. Actually, let's do for our parents is skeleton gets bone parents selected bone. There we go. Parents IDX. But here we're going to do if parents IDX -1, else we're just going to get a blank transform. And in this case, we're going to actually do our bone transform based on our starting pose. So I might get this the wrong way around because I always get this the wrong way around. But we want to base that on our starting pose so that we don't use our current position of our bone. We're going to use our starting position of our bone. There we go. So that's our global one. Now, here, we need that in global space so that we can get our movement correct. But we can simplify this now because we're basing this on our start transform. I can actually call that start pose. And we can actually do this based on our start pose. And I'm only going to implement it for this. And then we need a calculation here. We need to know how much we want to rotate. Now, the way that I'm currently going to do this is simply by checking how far we've moved. We just need to decide on what constitutes does that matter? Because we are moving in our camera plane. because you can get the distance of movement, but it will always be positive. You know, if I move to the right, I want to rotate one way, and if I move to the left, I want to rotate the other way. So we need to decide what is left, what is right. How are we going to do that? Yeah, 4 is Vulkan. So everything that we're doing right now is still on OpenGL, and we're even using the OpenGL 2 driver, not the 3 driver. So all good. Just to test this, I'm going to start with just taking the length. So we're going to simply say moved is going to be moved to take away handle pulse. There we go. Distance is moved.length. There we go. So we get our length. But this is only going to be positive, so we can only rotate one direction, which is fine for now. That's where we're going to start. We'll figure out how we're going to decide what's left and what's right in a minute. And I'm just going to put that straight in here. So this is probably going to be a way to fast rotation, but I just want to see if we're on the right track here. Now, here we're going to do all our other stuff, but because now we're suddenly rotating in local space, because we're basing it on our start pose, not on our bone transform, which is in global space. So this is global space. This is local space. We can actually skip all that, and we can just do new transform. And I think actually I'm going to call that new pose. I think that is probably clear. All right, so let's see if that does something. So okay, I need to go and replay this one. Animate. Yeah, we definitely need to figure out how we can trigger our skeleton to be redrawn when stuff changes. So I think it's only this one that we made. No, which one did we change? No. Okay. Whoa, axis vector 3 must be normalized. Okay. That's right. It's interesting. Let's go make sure that this guy is back to its default position. All right. So we were doing the one on the right. Okay, that's fine. Now that should be, so probably we are miscalculating it somewhere. All right. Let's just start by multiplying this by something small. So we now know that this is the one that we're rotating. Well, it is definitely rotating. But of course, the problem that we keep having. God, this is why I don't like this. All right. Okay, that one. So yeah, so it's rotating fine. Oh, okay. Right. Is that still new? I don't think so. Which one was it? Where we go. Look it up. Okay. So I'm guessing that our get value keeps being called. Okay. Let's confirm that. I've got some animals for making a bunch of noise outside. Yeah. Yeah. So every time we move, it's calling get value. It sucks. So that assumption didn't work. Is there a way that we know that this thing starts? Okay, let's have a look at our Gizmo help. That's annoying. The problem also is that this is an object. It has a spatial gizmo, that's just... That doesn't even have an interface, okay. Yeah. Hold on, I just need to close my window because there's some sort of animal going crazy outside of my window. Long live summer. So yeah. This is not really what I was hoping for. I was hoping that the get handle value would just be called on time. All right. So what we can obviously do, we know that commit handle is going to be called when we release our mouse. I want to actually confirm that. Okay. And then we can actually do it without our start pose, which is kind of interesting. All right, let's confirm this. Okay. All right. And then commit get mode gets called. Okay. If we do it again, it does that again. Okay, cool. All right. Let's change the way this works. And it's, I can't say I'm very happy about this, but is posing. There we go. We'll deal with that in a minute. So in this case, we're going to say is posing is false. So basically, as long as is posing is false, we haven't started doing our logic. That also means I don't care about this anymore. We're just going to return that. Return. Oops. No. This one. Return. Okay. There we go. Actually, I do want to store my start. I'm gonna start pose. We're just not getting it from value anymore. And I want to start point, because I think we can make this work a lot easier now. But it does feel very hacky. All right, there we go. I'm pretty sure that point is a 2D point. All right, all good. If not is posing, then we're going to say start point is point. Start pose is this one. And is posing is true. And then we actually don't need to do anything. So the very first bit of moving, and unfortunately that means that our first move of our mouse doesn't do anything. We really want to do this on our mouse down. We don't get that. I'm not quite sure. We could try and do it now. I don't think input works here because this is maybe we do have input on our Gizmo plugin. No, it's also a resource, so we don't get any keyboard input here, which is really annoying. Anyway, we no longer are going to care about any of this. I think we can gut the whole thing out. Boom. We don't care about this anymore. Luckily, I've got everything still in my GitLab if I do want to restore this stuff. Okay. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to make distance. Actually, we're going to say moved is point minus start point, and then distance is going to be moved dot x plus moved dot y. We're just going to add those together, and that means that if I go left or up, I'm going to go and decrease it, and if I go right or down, I'm going to go increase it. We might need to figure out which way around we are, but for now I am more than happy about doing it like this. So here we're just going to do all that the same. I think that is going to just work the way that it is. Okay. There you go. That works perfectly. Now again, I am not happy about the fact that our gizmos aren't updating on every set handle. I wish there was a way to force that redraw. I don't get why our skeleton isn't redrawing every move that we're making. But our thing works. Now again, because I am now purely doing a screen movement, if we are, and I can demonstrate that, I think, if we are like this, we're going to move the wrong way around, because right now the movement isn't synced to the direction that we're facing. So that's definitely something that I need to have a look at how we can improve that. But for now, let's go and copy this and say this guy is now going to be around the Z, and that one's going to be around X. And in theory, that should mean we can move that one, we can move that one, and we can move that one. And again, the direction of movement isn't correct. That is definitely something that I need to figure out. I'm wondering if for that it would be smart to keep the logic that we had before. Hi, Crazy Panda. How you going? Thank you for joining. I think for where we are right now, I'm happy with that, and that is something that we will figure out in due time. Because again, we need to figure out whether we are rotating in left way around or right way around, depending on our camera orientation. I need to think that one through. I'm not going to solve that right now in stream. I'm going to be staring at my screen for an hour to figure that one out, and I don't think that is interesting for you guys to watch me ponder about that. So I'm happy with that part of it. Now again, one thing that I really wonder is how can we force this guy to update? That's the thing that I don't get. It's not doing anything here that either, is it? It's just doing return. Of course, I started with the 2D one and the 3D one. Why is that on core string names? What is that? Oh, okay. I get it. We can try that. So that's going to be on our skeleton. All right. Do I have my core string names in here somehow? Core string, no. String names. No. Because I'm guessing that that is. Okay, I'm going to just hard code that. I'm not going to bother with this. So changed. I'm guessing it's just going to be changed. We'll see. No, it doesn't seem to have done anything. Although you'd expect that set bone pose would emit that anyway. That's all the skeletal editors. Nope. That's in scene. I'm guessing that's in resources. That could be wrong. It could be in 3D itself. Let's see. Skeleton. Here we go. Skeleton. I want to get the function. Here we go. Okay. Right. Yeah, so it updates that. That's fine. And then it's make dirty. So what does it do in make dirty? Update skeleton. I wonder if that gets delayed until there's no mouse input. That just updates all the global positions. And that updates the skin, so that does exactly what we expect it to do. So why doesn't it end up redrawing our... So that doesn't actually do anything, so don't worry about that. Is there a way to force this to redraw? Can we just call redraw? Well, what we can also do is just having a look at... That's the problem, of course. That thing is... How does it figure out whether that needs to be redrawn? That's the question. I think that some of this logic is in the wrong place, by the way, which is kind of interesting. All the way to the top here. Because we have our editor Gizmo in here, while it's actually defined in here, which is kind of cool. Is it this one? Which one was it? Was it this one? Can't remember. I cannot remember. So that's our rotational control. I'm not going to find that easily. There's too much things here that I haven't looked into yet. So this is all the logic that actually makes the rotation, you know, those things work. The thing that I'm simply looking for is how do I tell Godot that I have changed my skeleton and therefore it needs to redraw the skeleton. So it does it eventually, as you can see, but it doesn't do it until we're finished. It doesn't decide to do it, you know, as we need it to do. So eventually, come on, decide to do it. It's already like that, and it's just finally it's decided to suddenly redraw it. But we want that to be immediate, and it doesn't make any sense that it only does it sometimes. But how to figure that out, how to find out what triggers the redraw. And that's why I'm looking at other implementations of this to try and figure out. Okay, so let's see if the 2D skeleton one might help out. Because we're looking at our skeleton 3D, which doesn't actually have all the logic, but our skeleton 2D has a whole bunch more stuff in here. Okay. But there's no Gizmo in here. Oh, because that has that that works in a different way, because there we actually have our bones as separate objects. Because that's the thing, is here our skeleton are resources, but if you make a 2D skeleton like this, then you actually add bones to it. That's fine. And that means that you actually have a bone that you can edit inside of the editor. While in the skeleton, it's all inside of the skeleton, which is sad but true. Is that what that physical thing would do? I don't really want to muck about with that because I destroyed my my scene last time that I played around with that. Okay, what about this guy? Actually, let's have a look over here. Let's see if that is... No, that's just a normal editor plugin. Okay. Okay. And the spatial gizmo. So we have... Oh, that's the spatial gizmo itself that we... So here's our rotational control. Okay. So viewport stuff. So there's a lot more in our... Oh. That's the viewport itself. Okay. Anyway, that doesn't tell us how to trigger a redraw. Which one would have that? It's like finding a needle in a haystack, this one. That doesn't do anything. Okay, let's look at this, because that is also... No, that's also an editor plugin. That's just how, that's the little bake button at the top. But I thought that the GI probe had the handles as well. So where's our gizmo for the GI probe? That's a good question. Okay. Oops. Find in folder. GI probe. Okay, so that's the editor. There you go. No, it's a plugin. Spatial. Oh, it's in the spatial editor plugin. Really? Why is it there? All right. Right. So here's our Gizmo. Cool. Has Gizmo. Da da da. Set handle. That's fine. So we get that. And again, it just changes the extends. And it just redraws. Yeah, it extends X, Y, Z. That's fine. Set extends. And that just does change notify. Update Gizmo. Oh, wait. Okay. Is that a function we can call? Oh, hey, why does that? Why does that suddenly go like that? Okay, that one worked. That one worked. Okay. What is this? Okay. I think we're losing. I just want to put a few prints in so that I can see what's going on, see where we might be losing stuff. Okay. Start closing. Vector 3 must be normalized. Okay. Oh, hang on. Oh no. We're updating selected bone here, so we've got that on 10. 10. Why would that not be normalized? Oh, yeah, we can normalize it. That's fine by me. So it's complaining about the fact that these are not normalized. They should be. Unless there's something... Well, I guess if there's like a scaling involved or something like that, then it might have a problem with it. Guess. I find that very weird. There we go. we can rotate. Pretty cool. Alrighty. So now if we get the body in, there we go. You can pose this guy. Now again, you know, I would want to have those, you know, more control like this, but this will do for now. But what I want to change is I don't like the fact that we select the bones like this, because we have so many of these handles that we can't tell apart. It just becomes too hard to see what we're doing. So we're going to see if we can add a menu in to take over that, so that our bone selection is actually being handled through our menu, not through this. Okay, so let's figure out how to do that one. Now we were already looking at the GI probe here. Okay, right you. And the reason I'm saying that is, oh, that's a GI probe itself. Of course, I closed that. That wasn't very smart. But it should be easy to find again. All right. So here we have a editor plugin. Actually, for that, I think we should go back to our help pages and say Godot docs editor plugin. And while it loads up, I'm going to get some more water. There we go. Is it loading? No, it's not loading. It is loading. Why is it taking time? All right. Hello. Is the Godot website down? Actually not good. Oh, there we go. That took a while. Okay, so we're now going to go for, oh, the website is currently offline. Cloudflare always online shows a snapshot. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, that's nice. Nice of Cloudflare to do, but did something change? I vaguely remember seeing a tweet from Akian that we were switching over to new domains or something like that. So maybe that's why that's not working. But luckily, we're getting the help pages from the Wayback Machine. So the reason I want to have a look at this. So right now, we have been creating a Gizmo editor. Again, one of the things, of course, is that in here, that should actually also update our Gizmo, because that's now back to that. That actually doesn't update until it's selected again. All right, so we've now created a Gizmo to actually interact directly with our object in our viewport. But when our skeleton is selected, I actually want to add a button or a menu here that allows us to select the bones. So that is the bit that we're going to look at. How can we make that work? And the difference now is that we then create an editor plugin for that. So that's not a Gizmo, editor Gizmo, that's an editor plugin. All right. Now we do want that to react based on just a selected thing. So this is actually a panel. No, maybe that is not what I wanted. That's in the inspector, so that's in here. Well, you know what? I am going to go and have a look at what we're doing. So yeah, here we are using editor plugin. GI probe, that's fine. Does not have that. Edit handles make visible. What does that react on? So that's the button that's getting added. So that's our callback on our button. So here's checking, are we actually editing a GI probe? If not, we just return, else we are going to remember that that is the GI probe that we are editing. Interesting that it doesn't clear the GI probe. Okay. Oh, here we have our handles, so that's cool. Oh, and we have a make visible there. Okay, that makes perfect sense. All right. Now, okay, let's actually see, where does that come from? Where does that come from? Skeleton editor node. And as a plugin. Okay. So that's all the logic for how that thing works. So we're actually going to add a second one there for our logic. Would have been really nice if we would be able to just add it into this plugin, but I think that's a bit too much to ask. Okay. All right. Well, I guess it does work with this. That's fine. Okay, so we're not going to do a main screen plugin, but that's fine. Okay. This is kind of the answer. Okay. Let's just create our own version of that. Okay. So, save. This probably means that we're going to have to reload some stuff again. So we got our add spatial Gizmo plugin here, but we're probably going to have to. Is that somewhere in here as well? All right. This is already an add. Okay, an add spatial Gizmo plugin. All right, data tree. Can we just double that up? I don't know. Maybe we can. Let's see if that works. We never know. This is where we need to piece together what we do in C and what we do in here. So that's get, all right. Get Ezra interface, get base control. No. Get editor viewport. Da -da -da -da. Add child, main panel instance. Okay. And that's going to be on that. Okay, hide the main panel, very much for that. Yeah, well, we're not going to do a panel here. We're going to do it differently. Okay, so all right. We can actually do that with a scene. So we're going to go and create a new scene. It's going to be a 2D scene. Change type. Let's make it a pop-up menu. Cool. I've never used these things, so there we go. Can we give this thing a name? And also navigate pop-up menu with. Okay, but that doesn't tell us how to use it. That's just a help. I need a. There we go. Okay, so this is, I think, is just a container. Okay. So, text, testing. I don't use these things very often, so... This is new to me as well. I don't want to go watch a video on a stream. Okay. Items pop-up menu. The items. Okay. But do I still need to use the menu button to actually open it? Let's just add the pop-up menu in here just for now. So pop-up menu. Okay, so that just gets toggled depending on that. I don't know. And then, oh yeah, items. So, item 0, test 1. I don't really care about any of the rest. I just want to have 2 tests in there, okay? Test 1, test 2. Okay. Let's actually do that first, because that's going to be in add-ons, GD pose, skeleton pop-up. There we go. Okay, it opens the menu, but I've lost my items. They're still in there. Let's check all. That's not what I wanted. Just normal clickable. They're enabled. Good. So we see test 1 and test 2 there. So I wonder why that's not working there, but that's okay. We have a pop-up scene, so I'm happy for now. I don't need to do more, but for now that is enough. No, that's good. So, guess that can be constant. Skeleton pop-up. Preload. Okay. Add-ons, pose, skeleton pop-up. Boom. Okay. Okay. There we go. Oh, and of course I put that in the wrong place. I put the stats. That should not go here. That should go here. There we go. I think that was instance, wasn't it? Yeah, that's instance. Okay. And then actually in our enter tree, you can just add that in. Okay. Okay. I always like to reset that, which means that I actually want to have that over here. Menu. which means that this can just remain blank. Okay. Now that probably means that I need to reload my plugin. So let's just disable that and enable that. I don't know if that's enough, but we will see. I think we need to restart, but also I haven't got our check-in there yet. Ah, that's okay, I think. We'll show it always for now. Menu button comes with its own menu. Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, we did that wrong. Although, yeah, you're absolutely right. So we're actually going to go and get rid of that. Boom. And let's just go and say add test 1. Oops, I went too quick. Test 2. Test 1, test 2. Cool. Perfect. All right. I am going to reload and see if our editor plugin goes in there. Hi, Rodzilla. How you going? Nice of you to join. Thanks, Figo. That got us on our way. We're going back into here. But our menu button still isn't showing. Okay, plug in. Why not? So in theory, that should have added it in. Maybe it doesn't do that perfectly. So actually, that I don't need to do that because you do want to do this. Oops, not quite sure how to manage to do that. So we only have a plugin name. Do we? No, we don't actually. That's interesting. I don't care about that. So okay. All right. So now let's have a look over here. Okay, that's fine. I think we can copy that from here. Oh no, it doesn't do that here. I guess that should do it. Okay. So that we need to set to our menu in a bit. Okay. I think we're still missing something there. Although we're doing exactly the same thing here. We're going to get our Viewport, we're going to add our child there. Get editor viewport. Is it that one? Then again, I don't see our button anywhere else. How did I do it in my... Do I still have it somewhere here? Glad you enjoyed the videos, Figo. I'm glad I can help you out. Now, this is definitely an area that could use more documentation. Absolutely. That's the one that I was looking for. Okay. I just want to have a look if there is something that we do differently here. Add control bottom panel. Okay. Add custom type. That's what we do. Here we have. Okay, so I think we need to have a look at our editor plugin and look at our ads. So the bottom panel to container to doc, custom type, export, import, inspector, scene, spatial Gizmo, tool menu, tool sub. We haven't need our get editor interface. Okay. I wanted to go there. What about this? It's a few parts. Returns the main editor control. Use this as a parent for main scenes. This returns the main editor control containing the whole editor, not the 2D or 3. Okay, so that's not what we want. So I'm surprised that we don't see our button somewhere. I would have expected it to be showing up somewhere, but we're definitely adding it in the wrong place. So do we still need to go through this? Okay. Control. Nope. Okay, which one would it be? So this is what I don't get is here it's just going to do editor get viewport add child, but it doesn't actually know where it's adding it in. That looks too simple. So here we have our editor viewport, but that's not what we're after. Plugin, no, inspector plugin. That's this panel. That's what we're using here. So that adds a thing in here. Container. There are many locations where custom controls can be added to the editor UI. Please remember that you have to manage the visibility of your custom controls yourself and likely hide it after adding it. Okay. Remove from container and free it. Okay. Okay, so that does seem to be the most logical. Spatial editor menu. Side left, side right, side bottom. Canvas editor. So that's the 2D. So I would say spatial editor menu. No, that's... Well, it could be. Let's just try. I think we need to have this one. Okay, plugin. So we're going to change this to add control to container. I'm going to assume this one. Public instance of that. But that does mean that we now also need to do remove control from container. Menu. Boom. Okay. Now we do still need to hide it here, but I'm going to wait with that. Because first I want to see if this works. I'm also going to reload. All right, there's our test menu. And now it's showing, even though it shouldn't, until we select it and it goes away. So cool. All right, getting there. We are getting there. How are we on time? 11. Ugh. Goes way too fast as usual. All right, so this just simply means that we want to make sure that after we add it, we start off with it not being visible. So basically, all the controls that we have in our 3D toolbar are always there. They're just hidden when we don't need it. So this skeleton one is always there. Our GI probe one is somewhere here as well, but they're hidden. It only shows it if the appropriate record here is, or node here is selected. Now the other thing that we want to do, obviously this shouldn't be called testing. We're going to be editing that. But when we select the object here, we want to make sure that we communicate that to our menu so that our menu knows what it's doing, which also means that we're going to populate our menu with the items for every bone, because we want to go and select the bones from here. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Now that also means that I think I want to have a few standard entries in there as well. So we'll have to see how we make that work. Okie doke. I'm going to go back into our file system, because that means that we also lost our scene here. And I think this is going to require us to start and restart things a few times, which is a bit of annoying, but it is what it is. Anyway, we do need a script for that. Okay. Now, when we look at this guy, I want this one in there as well. I'm gonna go and close a few of these others. There we go. So skeleton editor has a skeleton pointer in here. So we are going to do that here as well. And then it has a edit function. Okay, that's fine. I don't care about you. But we're going to do for our skeleton is there we go. So I want to do two things here. First, I want to do edit, new skeleton, in which case we're going to set skeleton is new, skeleton, there we go. We're going to be doing some more there here, some more there as well. And actually we can parse a null through there if we want to disable that. So the idea here is, so here what we're going to be doing is if skeleton pop-up instance, then skeleton pop-up instance dot edit object. There we go. So we're going to assume that's the right type. If not, we might need to cast that. But seeing that it's seeing that we do our handles here, I'm going to assume that we're only going to get the right ones here. We'll see. All right. If not, we'll get an error and we'll know. But the other thing that I was thinking about is if we do here, I'm thinking about doing a skeleton. Edits no. That might be overkill. I'm not quite sure if that's. Nah, I don't think that really is important. Is it? I don't know. Nah, can't hurt to just not do it. Well, we might need to add it in. I'm sort of wondering if we, because our menu will be populated with our bones, but then again, it's hidden, so it doesn't really matter. All right, so here we need to reset our menu. Menu button. You don't need you. I still need to figure out the undo redo. That's the other thing that we need to do. What? No, that's not what I want. Menu button. That's the one that I want to have help about, because we need to have a look at how can we change our value. So obviously I don't want that to be testing. I want it to be GD pose. Boom. Perfect. Okay. I guess it has a built-in pop-up menu. Okay. Clear. All right. So let's go and see what we can do. Up is, there we go. Up. Up. Clear. Clear. And then we need to add items to that thing. Oops. Sorry. All right. All right. Okay. For get bone name IDX. There you go. Okay. Did I do something about that I didn't want them all? Oh yeah. So I need to get the parent as well. So we're only going to add it if that is okay. So how do we add an item here? Add item string. Okay, add item. Add a new item with label text. An ID can optionally be provided. Okay, so we can give it our ID. That's cool. All right. Add item name Oops. Pop-up. Dot add item. Cool. All right. Is that going to work right away? I would be really surprised. No. I think we need to reload. Okie doo. Okay, it's not done that. Have we got lots of it? Really? Have we got some errors in here? Invalid call, a non-existent function edit in base menu button. Really? Well, func edit. Base menu button. That should work, shouldn't it? It should be calling that. Oh, but that's not being cast, is it? Okay. How do I cast an object again? Skeleton. No, how do I cast? I think actually it does that automatically. So even if that isn't getting casted, that will be null. I still want to set it there because our button is now visible. I don't want any entries in there. Okay. And I'm guessing that we need to reload our project again. That is really annoying. That's not a tool script. That's the other problem. That is the other problem. This needs to be a tool script in order to work in our editor. Okay. So here we go again. I always forget that. All right. Characters. Scene. Skeleton. Look at that. Okay, I think we need a better interface for that. I think it's probably smart to make this work first. But yeah, that is definitely too much for a menu. Not to mention that I think that we will want to have indentation of this so that we can actually see the structure. I'm not going to worry about that right now because it's already 11:15. I want to get the basics of this working. But yeah, we need to do something better than a menu. However, the principle behind this does stay the same. So everything that we implement here, we will just eventually move over to another type of interface. So I think eventually we'll change this into a normal button, and that button will actually open up a pop-up window on which we draw the skeleton proper with possibly a scroll bar or something like that. And that then makes it selectable. So I don't think it matters too much that we don't have that correct right away. because it just becomes doing exactly the same thing. Yeah. Okay, that is if that is being pressed. All right, so I'm guessing that in our ready here, there we go. Now we need to have a look at our pop-up menu and our signals. ID press. I think that's the one that we need to do. Okay. Let's actually go and put a function here and say function select bone ID. Let's just print select bone ID. There we go. All right, and here it's going to be popup.connect ID pressed self select bone. There we go. That means another restart. Oh boy. Okay. No characters. Captain. Okay. 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 Yeah. Select bone 3. All right. Cool. Now we need to communicate that to our Gizmo. Do we have direct access to our Gizmo? I think we do. So when we look at our Gizmo here, bone. Okay. And actually, can this be returned? We don't care. Out. Okay. There we go. So if our index that we give here is between 0 and the number of bones, then we select the bone, and else we set that to -1. All right, so now we need to go and call that from here. So we have our skeleton here. Okay, we can actually access that. So how cool is that? Is this a name Gizmo? Class bone spatial Gizmo. What? Oh, last name. Is it? What am I missing? Here, right? No, that one doesn't have a name. Okay. class underscore name. Oops. There we go. Yeah. All right. So that one now has a class name. That's good. That means that we should be able to do Gizmo. That means that we should be able to check if we have a gizmo, and in that case we do set selected bone ID, and we restart again. Okay. Oh yeah, it does work. Cough. All right. So head. Yeah, now we got the head. Well, the head is all the way at the top, so that's annoying. Is it actually? Oh, is it longer or is it exactly this? I don't know. Spine one. Okay, so we also need to make sure that we do an update of the gizmo, I think. So where are we? Pop up. Da-da-da, gizmo. And then skeleton. The gizmo. This doesn't redraw. Okay, so we now can select our bones from our list. That does seem to work, even though our menu isn't very good way to do that. But it also means that I actually want to get rid of this. I'm still going to do the handle array, but we're going to go and get rid. Okay. All right. That's good. So we actually don't care in this case. Selected bone. So if we have selected bone, we return it. Else return. Don't think I can really do anything with that, but anyway. All right, so same thing here. In this case, we're not really going to care at all about this. We're going to assume that we have that all. That's all that we're going to have. Okay, commit handle, same thing. That is no longer applicable. We actually don't even care about. We don't care about pass here. I don't even think we care about that anymore, because it's only the selected bone that we're going to be working with. But I do want to do, okay, if not, okay. If selected bone -1, return. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Put it back, put it back, put it back. That's cool. And we're no longer going to do this. So, wait, neither, both of them. So only if we have the selected bone do we go and add our handles in. Boom. All right. Clear everything. So I think we might want to do if handles dot size bigger than 0. Is that a property? I guess so. All right. So only if we have them, then we add them in. Okay, that sounds good. All right. Does that work right away? I would be surprised. All right. Spine. Well, spine's there, but my gizmos have disappeared. Ah, indeed. I thought so. That needs to be a function. Okay. There we go. And now we just have the gizmos to do our movements. And again, I don't like that we're using gizmos for it, but hey, we have I think the names need to be changed because we changed which ones we are rotating. Okay, so okay, maybe I should fix that up and actually make that rotate around the right ones. So okay. X becomes Y. Y becomes Z. Z becomes X. Okay. So that's becoming actually. Thanks. So we're gonna go move this over here. We're gonna move this over here. We're gonna move this over there, so that the naming is right. But then over here, we need to change them. So X becomes Y. Y becomes Z. Z becomes X. Sweet. Obviously we need to change the one that we're doing. So the other thing that I want to do is make sure that we tick the one that we've actually got selected. Okay, that's around the X. That's rotating around the Y. And that is rotating around the Z. Sweet. I'm wondering if we actually should be using the one. Maybe we should actually try that. That might actually work. So I'm going to put that back to X, Y, Z. Because I'm thinking about dragging the handles around, but we're actually not dragging the handles. We're actually using them as a rotate thingy. All right. 3D. So now we're rotating around the one that we press. And with that, we don't really care too much about the direction either. I think I like that. I think I like that. That's pretty good. All right. Now, how to do the trigger of the keyframe if the animation player is there. How does that work? Because we get all the animation player things in there. I think I am going to do some research about that another day. For now, obviously when we pose, well, yeah, we really want to have that in there, don't we? Okay, I think that's going to be for next week because I don't want to make it too late today. But what I do want to do, I want to go to GitHub, to my GitHub, and let's go and create a repository for this. New repository, gpose. Plugin to make skeletons. No, posable. All right, we're going to add a readme in there. We're going to add an ignore, and we're going to add a license. I'm going to add a MIT license in there, and I'm going to go and create my repo. Cool. There we go. Yeah, that's good enough. Git clone, boom. Sweet. Okay. You can probably best copy that from here. And just grab my git attribute and git ignore. Let's start with that. Where are you? Probably should have put it in my assets, but that's okay. There we go. All right. Boom, 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 boom. My games space. Pose. Boom. Okay. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. This is still a work in progress. License, see license. Boom, this project is provided. Okay, that's all good. I don't really care about anything else at this point in time. It's just so that I do share this thing. Okay. Ads dot get attributes. Git add dot get ignore. Boom. Add. Pose. Yeah, I think that's all right. I just wanted to double check that it didn't try and add something it shouldn't. Actually, no, before I do that, for more info, let's see. My streams on YouTube. Okay, let's just link in the 2 streams that we've had so far. There you go, my videos. No. Why do I not have a share link in there? That's not nice. Don't do that. Boom. All right, this is going to be the next level Inception. Is that actually loading? Load my own stream. Jeez. Copy. Actually, that reminds me, is this actually working? Do I want to brighten that up? No. What do I always forget? What's the syntax for that again? Probably can get that out of one of my other ones. Readme. Brackets and then that way around. I always forget which way they are. So this is stream number 16. Oops. And this was. I hope I didn't put them the wrong way around. So we'll find that out eventually. There we go. Okay. Work done during stream 16 and 17. Boom. Push origin master. Okay. Why? Why is that called main? Since when is that main? What the hell? Main. Since when is that main? Since when has that changed? It's always been master. Oh well. Main it is then. Might see about renaming that. Why would that suddenly be main? That's new. Anyway, if I refresh this now, we have a pose library there for now. So obviously this is far from finished, so I'm not going to put this in anything like the asset library, stuff like that. But at least, you know, you guys can have a look at this, and if you want to use it, you can use it. I think it's far from ready, but we have made a lot of progress. Obviously, this menu needs a lot of work to become actually usable, because right now it's just hard to follow what's going on. But, you know, you can select whatever it is that you need to select. And the nice thing about it now is that because we've got our only our gizmos for our selected bone, it becomes a lot easier to do that. That's good. So I can't undo yet, so I should add a section of to-dos in here. Let's actually do that. Okay. Hash to-dos. Minimum work needed. Feasible. So we have add undo feature, make bone selection menu easier, not better. Let's improve bone selection menu, and what I think is very important here is add option to keyframe for selected bone, just to make that easier. Nice. Make it possible to select bones by clicking on them. I have no idea if that's even possible. And okay, there we go. There's a list of things that we need to spend some time on. There we are. Okie dokie. Cool. So yeah. So we can now pose our skeleton. We could, do our animations by clicking on things here. Although, for me, one of the things that I want to do here is actually create a version of our mannequin without an animation player. Do I? I don't know yet. I have to think about that one. Because I might want to give this project a little bit of a rest as far as the stream is concerned. Obviously, I want this to be usable because at some point in time we need to go and start posing our character depending on our necessities. But I need to get all the rooms done in our carrier before that really starts making sense. Because one of the things, for instance, that I really wanted to do here, and one of the reasons why I was doing this, is I want to be able to have our characters sit on chairs and stuff like that. And again, we're not going to have serious animations in this game. So a character will be sitting. And while I'm thinking about adding at least a bit of animation so that they're not just static, our characters aren't going to be free to move around the ship. They are going to be in fixed positions. The positions change from, as the missions progress, but we're going to find our characters in predefined locations. So we need to figure out how we're going to deal with that. And for that, I think it is important that we compose the characters inside of Godot, because in this case, because the environment only exists in Godot, it just makes a lot more sense to do the animation here. But I do think there is a lot of improvement that needs to be done on this to make that usable. This is acceptable in the sense of, we can work around this, or we can work with this, but that's really about it. But hey, part of me also thinks that when we look at the changes that I'm making here, I'm right now doing it as a plugin, because we can prototype really easily there. But I actually believe that this functionality should be part of Godot itself. This actually needs to be added into the core. Maybe not as I sold it right now, as something different, but that's the thing. Now again, I do want to go and play around more with this and figure out how that actually works, because I have a feeling that will already help out, although I don't really understand how that works yet. But anyway, yeah, we do have at least something, the makings of something. Now the other thing, of course, also is that yeah, we really need that undo. That is kind of funny. Anyway, so yeah, we can position our character at least. All right. So what's next? Because I think we're about ready to round it off for tonight. Let's go get this guy to back to his default position. There you go. What's the next step? We need to start getting into actually getting our carrier fleshed out, our interior carrier fleshed out. So I've made some small changes. I definitely found out that we made a lot of the rooms too big, but I'm still trying to gather some reference material and some ideas about what I want every location to look like, so that we can kind of position some simple geometry into those rooms to get a bit of a feeling. I probably am going to have to do some modeling. Now, I am not a great modeler, and I haven't actually touched Blender in half a year, and I still need to learn 2.8. So I'm not quite sure if that's something worth doing on stream, or if that's just going to be boring seeing me play around with Blender. So that's something that I need to give some thought about, how I can organize that. The other thing, well, like I said earlier, is one of the things that I'm thinking about is maybe spending 1 or 2 streams doing some work on the vehicle demo, just to polish that up, bring that up to 3.2, add in some of the missing logic that I never got around to doing, so that even though I won't have that as a tutorial, at least I'll have it as a stream. So, you know, leave a comment if you guys think that that was worthwhile doing. Just to give me a little bit of breathing space, because I really need to work on where is it? I really need to work on actually giving this some detail, and I'm really wondering if that is good streaming material, because I'll just be spending hours and hours just tweaking things and putting things in place, and basically getting it to a point where there's enough detail in here to then hand it over to a proper 3D artist and say, you know, these are the elements that I need. Go and make something that actually looks cool, and not green and white and blue. But I'm wondering if that is worth doing on stream, because it'll just mean hours and hours of puzzling and very repetitive stuff. So, but I really need to have some of that stuff in place before I can take the next step as far as the interior goes. So the other option is to get back to the game itself and start working more on the AI of the enemies, so that they become a little bit smarter. And I think it's about time that I start thinking about, okay, how am I going to make a mission system? Because while I have some ideas there, I want to use Godot's graph system for that, so that we can actually graph out the main system, the main parts, and then try and figure out, okay, how are we going to actually do individual missions and you know, get through all the things of spawning in enemies and figuring out how to get the player to go from A to B. That reminds me, that's another thing. +1 for the vehicle. Yeah, I might just do that next week and just put in a vehicle stream in between, and just also to mix it up a bit and to have a bit of a break in between, because I think I need to do some design work here anyway. The other thing is, I bought Star Wars Squadrons. Only played it for about half an hour. I didn't really have time to do much more with it, unfortunately. That might be fun to do at some point. I don't want to do it on my Friday stream, but I'm thinking about doing a stream sometime during the week, or maybe on a Sunday or something like I did last time, and you know, just play Star Wars Squadrons for an hour or two, just to show that off. There's a few things that I need to figure out with sound. Also, you know, wearing a headset, I can't see chat, so I need to figure that one out if I want to do that. Let me tell you, it was an interesting experience playing that game so far. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love the mechanics, the playing itself. I found getting started really hard. There are some design choices in how you start the game that feel that it was designed as a it was designed as a desktop game with VR in mind. And as a result, you notice that your first start is clunky. I always call Half-Life Alex out because that to me is the epitome of a game that that's done VR right, in the sense of, you start the game and you put your headset on and the whole interface works right away. There is no puzzling and figuring out things. And with Star Wars Squadrons, I noticed that there were certain steps that you need to do that really didn't work in VR. Like, for instance, the very first thing that you had to do is when it starts up is it asks you to connect to your Origin account. And then I couldn't find a virtual keyboard. So what I had to do is I had to quit out the VR mode of the game, start it up in desktop mode, do the whole setup of logging onto my Origin account, and then restart it in VR. So that was one that I thought were a very interesting choice. And again, I might just not have found the right way to do it, because it's the first time you start up the game, and if you then confronted with that, then it doesn't immediately tell you how to do it. And again, probably part of that is because I bought it through Steam instead of buying it through the Origin launcher. Because obviously, if you buy it through the Origin launcher, I'm assuming that information is already filled in. The other thing that I found really interesting is that there's a lot of stuff around the cutscenes and going through it, and then you start your first mission, and the flight stick isn't inverted because I'm using my flight stick. I'm not using a controller or a gamepad. And it doesn't tell you or seems to give you the option to change it until the mission is finished. And flying a mission without your joystick inverted is horrible. So yeah, my start was frustrating. Once I got that all set up correctly, and I restarted at that point in time, and I started the first mission, it started getting fun, and you really start seeing how polished and well built that game is. So there's a few more tweaks that I want to do. For instance, the axes roll and not pitch. Roll and yaw are reversed. I would like to have them the other way around. Maybe that's because I've got them the other way around in my game, and I'm just used to it. I don't know. The other thing which I found really interesting about it is, obviously, I played the X-Wing Rogue One mission on the PlayStation to death. I love that thing, and you can really see that was the concept for this. But they had done certain things in limiting the freedom of movement in that game that aren't in this game. And that works in its advantage and in a disadvantage. And it's actually a problem for my game as well, because I have the same freedom of movement in my game. Because you're in space, but it is incredibly disoriented. And you look at interviews with astronauts, they say the same. Space is disoriented because you don't have an up and down. And that is something to get used to. And that was something that was really well solved in the X-Wing Rogue One game. And actually in the older TIE Fighter and X-Wing games on PC as well, that were all sort of spiritual predecessors of this. Because they really made it more of a flight sim, as if you're in atmosphere, you just happen to be in space. So you did have, while you couldn't see it, there was a horizon in the game, and the game orientated itself around that horizon. So you kind of solve that problem that way, but it becomes a much more arcadey game. And it's made me think, do we go for realism? Do we stay with realism as I have right now? Or do we go for that more arcadey feel where there is an up and down in the game, and we work with it? I don't know. I haven't figured that one out yet. So yeah, lots of things to think about, but it is another thing that I'm thinking about doing. I need to set up a few more things. I need to figure out how to get chat inside. There's some overlay stuff. I actually need to talk to Ben about that. He actually made some overlay logic in Godot, and I'm not sure if that might be something that I can use. Now he integrates with Twitch because he streams on Twitch, so might not be useful. I don't know. I need to figure that one out. But there's other options already out there, so I just need to figure out which one works. Because it wouldn't be nice if I stream for an hour or two playing Squadrons and I can't read chat. So just then I can just as well just record it and just upload it. So that's something that I'm thinking about doing. The other thing that I was really glad about, Squadrons is a really cool game, but it is conceptually very different to what I'm trying to do here. Like I said, between missions, you just have cutscenes that sort of progress the story forward. Most of the story is told in game, so when you're flying around, or at least as far as I've played it so far. So I thought that was really neat. Well, I want to go much more towards what games like Star Lancer and Wing Commander did, where you're really, or Mass Effect is actually also a good example of that. Is a very different type of game, having the same mechanic, where you're able to move around the carrier in between missions and interact with NPCs and tell part of the story that way. So yeah, plenty to think about. So I'm not 100% sure yet what I'll do next week, but I am thinking about just spending at least one stream just playing around with the vehicle demo and bringing it up to 3.2 and maybe putting the gear ratio logic in there, because again I lost my original files for that, so I'm going to have to remember how I did it. But that that's good stream material anyway. So I think that's what we're going to be doing next week, and that gives me a bit of time to prepare a little bit more of this so that I can actually show something new on stream around the space game. So yeah, it is midnight for me. I think I'm going to call it a day. So unless people still have questions, I'm going to start. I'm going to make an end to this. What else did I want to say tonight? No, I think that's about it. I think that's how far we've gotten with all of this. So, yeah, it's always a shame that chat runs half a minute to a minute behind. So I don't want to end it too quickly and find out that someone asked a question last minute. Yeah, well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you again all for watching and joining. I hope it was worth it and that you learned something. If you want to check out the post library, it is on YouTube. No, not YouTube. On GitHub now. So github.com/bastionli/gdpose. So yeah, have a play around with it, or give some feedback, ideas. They're all welcome. So yeah, I'll be back with the stream next Friday. I am still working on my object interaction tutorial, but work has just taken the upper hand lately, so that's not going as fast as I would like. But I hope to get back to that and actually make some progress with that real soon. So yeah, with that and nothing being added into the chat, I am going to wish everybody a good night or a good day if it's daytime for you. And I really hope to see you again next week. So thanks for joining me, and till next time.